I don't have this attachment to validation from strangers. Okay.
Right.
But I've noticed a lot of young people, particularly a lot of young women, are almost infatuated with it, where their sense of self worth is almost inherently attached to the amount of followers and likes and subscribers that they have on whatever particular platform that it is. And for me,
Right.
it's quite interesting, not only as a person who kind of predates this phenomenon, but also as a man, because men and women we are different. She said her partner told her, if you're thinking about people that you get validation from online on whatever platform you're sharing stuff on, they don't get to see the real you and know all the different aspects about you that somebody like your partner or your family might know about you. Why should what they say really matter in comparison to somebody who actually has had the fortune of getting to
My
know you? My intention is that this will live, so people, when they ever are able to discover it, will be able to get some value from it. But that doesn't necessarily impact who I am and make me diminish myself if I don't get a certain amount of engagement right off the bat. I don't know all the platforms that you use. I won't ask you that in a second. But what I've noticed, and you can give me your feedback on what you think. My perception of a lot of social media, I'm speaking more about the Instagrams, the TikToks, that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
that for a lot of young ladies at different ages, but definitely some young ladies, that there is a sensationalization, if you will, to share so many aspects of your life. And then
Yes.
to take it a step further, to share a lot of you
Right.
on these public platforms, these public profiles.
Right.
What I find interesting, and PSA, I'm 36, so I kind of came around before a lot of these things. So I don't have any attachment to these platforms. That's
Mhm.
why it's interesting for me to learn about them. I don't have this attachment to validation from strangers. Okay.
Right.
But I've noticed a lot of young people, particularly a lot of young women, are almost infatuated with it, where their sense of self worth is almost inherently attached to the amount of followers and likes and subscribers that they have on whatever particular platform that it is. And for me,
Right.
it's quite interesting, not only as a person who kind of predates this phenomenon, but also as a man, because men and women we are different. We know that like men tend to be the ones that will obviously initiate contact and pursue you ladies, right?
Yes.
My question around this thought is, have you ever struggled or do you know people who have difficulty with balancing this idea, maybe that I may have somebody in my life that I really value, okay? Like I have a partner, maybe like you do, but I'm still struggling with trying to balance this attention that I can get at will
Mhm.
from strangers.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Oh my gosh, you make such a valid point. Like, and I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I haven't gotten validation from social media. I'm very much on Instagram a lot, and TikTok is my new rabbit hole that I just can't fall out of. Um, but I think when I was younger, like in my teenage years and stuff, I did get more validation from Instagram and whatnot than I
Mm,
do now. And I think it's just because, again, going back to like the relationship, sorry, that I'm in,
yeah.
he's brought a lot of that validation, and it's just kind of like I don't even like, yes, it's a nice added thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I still post on Instagram and whatnot, but I've noticed
Mm,
like, okay, I'm posting less selfies now. Like selfies were a big deal for me and getting like that validation in those comments, like you're
mhm.
beautiful and whatnot. Now it's more like I'm posting Tim and I and the things that we're doing. But sure, like his validation is number one, definitely. And like I said, he's always told me, and he continues to tell me like I'm beautiful, but it's more than that. Now it's like validation about my character and my personality, which I feel like you don't get from social media.
Correct.
Right? On social media, yeah, on social media it's like your appearance.
Yes. And okay. And I'm trying very, very hard to think about how to craft this, right?
Right.
Because we live in certain times now.
Yeah.
That point you just mentioned, right? To me, like that can't go understated because you have this idea and you have these platforms where people can get this attention, right? And again, I'm speaking more to young women. This is not me trying to focus only on young women, but let's be honest here.
Right.
Most of the time it's men looking at women. It's not the other way around. That's just
Hmm.
the way human behavior is.
Correct.
It's always going to be there in terms of the access. Depending on how much maybe a woman wants to show,
Right.
she can get access to eyeballs and attention. Would you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
With that being said, there's this nuanced sort of dance that then has to happen when you know you want a real relationship, when you know you want a real partner, but you might still be hooked on those eyeballs.
Yeah.
Right? If I go back to what I said a little while ago when I said men are very territorial, right?
Hmm.
What I mean by that in the context of social media is that men will look at women in different ways dependent upon how you present.
Yep.
And how you present online to us in a lot of cases is no different than how you present it in person. We're going to look at them like you're the same person. You're not some avatar online that is not connected to this person I'm sitting here looking at right now. You're the same person.
Right.
And I say that because I've heard that before. Like, oh, I just do that for the gram. I'm like, no. That's still you.
Exactly.
But with that being said, the challenge I feel for a lot of young people, and this is kind of why I brought this up to you, is that if you struggle and you get too much validation and you value that validation so high
Right.
from the people, to your point, that don't actually know your character, your heart, what you're about, what you went through, they don't know any of that stuff. All they know is what they see.
Right.
And let me build on that just for a moment. What we show on social media 99% of the time is not the whole story.
Hmm.
You're only showing a very nicely curated image of what you want people to know. Most people don't tell all of it.
Preach.
If
Yeah.
you don't get to see all that, but I'm showing you this beautiful image of who I am and what I'm supposed to represent, and I'm hooked on that.
Right.
How do we think that's impacting the partner, the guy
Right.
who really is there for you? But then that could feel like an actual threat that
Right.
you're getting pulled in this direction from these people who don't know any of those things I just laid out there about you. I do. And I'm giving that validation to you, but it feels like it just doesn't stand up to the same amount for all these other guys. What would you say to that?
One, I say that that's an extremely valid point, and I feel like I've been there at one point, and I think even now, I can't say that I'm 100%, like, I still and that's something I'm working on is, like, overthinking things so much because I'm like, "Oh, what is this person gonna think of me?"
Mm,
Like, just wanting to be so, um a people pleaser in a sense, you know? And I think that's something I'm trying to overcome, and Tim has helped me with a lot. It's like, Kiwi, you really think, like you said, these people that don't know you really care, like you're never gonna see this person again.
Facts. Can you say that one more time, please?
Wait, what did I just say? Sorry. I said,
What Tim just said, what Tim told you.
oh, he said, like, why does it matter so much? You're not gonna see this person probably ever again. You don't even know this person. Why is their opinion so significant to you?
Let me say that again. She said her partner told her, if you're thinking about people that you get validation from online on whatever platform you're sharing stuff on, they don't get to see the real you and know all the different aspects about you that somebody like your partner or your family might know about you. Why should what they say really matter in comparison to somebody who actually has had the fortune of getting to know you?
Absolutely.
Beautiful point. Beautiful.
I love how you put it into words even better.
Well, shout out to Tim because I'm just piggybacking on what he said.
He's a wise man. But it's so true. And I think that's the difference between us too, is he's never had social media like that. He never cared for it. So to see someone who I've been with, because in my past, like most those people had, social media. I met someone for the first time that didn't have any social media. And just like
Mm.
you can see a big difference in that too.
Yeah,
You know?
you carry yourself differently. I would
Yeah.
consider myself the same way. Listen, I've been out with people and you can tell when everything is for public consumption, to try to make it simple. And I'm very private.
Right.
And I like things to me, like your private moments are for you and for that person, or for you and your family member, whoever it is, not everything doesn't have to be shared to the world. And that's another point that I feel like a lot of young people are truly struggling with right now
Oh
is
yeah.
everything does not need to be publicized.
Right. If
Like,
you didn't
and
go
everybody
ahead.
didn't even care about all of your thoughts that you want to share. Like, think about coherent things that you
Oh
really
yeah.
want to put a packaged thought or feeling or experience together, not just every single thing that's happening. I feel like I gotta capture and then make sure you guys see it.
Oh my gosh. And to build off that point, like that's something I still do, honestly, is like, oh, and now it's more of like my relationship. And they say like, and I heard this recently and I couldn't agree more, like the I feel like the people that post the most and their relationship is so perfect and posting like daily posts of their partner
Hmm.
and them together are sometimes the ones that are having the most relationship issues. And that might not always be the case. But I heard that recently, actually, like the other day, and I was like, that's probably so true, you know? And
Yeah.
like going off what you said, I still like, and I'm still guilty of this. Like, we'll be out at dinner and I'm like, wait, I want to take a picture of this. It's almost like that thought where they say, if you didn't post it, it didn't happen. And
I
it's like,
mean,
you know,
and listen, to be fair to you, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I haven't shared anything. Um,
right, right.
I think it's okay. This would be my only my only caveat to what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
I do think it's okay to take those things. My thing is about public versus private. That's more of my concern. If you're like a person who, and I'll give myself as an example to try to make this point. I'm from a generation where we didn't have the prevalence of all this technology, right?
Right.
That we're even the fact that we're communicating right now, right? Old school way was snail mail.
Yeah.
You actually had to write letters to people. We
Right.
actually had address books where we wrote your numbers down and your physical mailing address, and that's how we actually used to send you stuff. For those that did not know, from the 2000s and up to the present. But I say that because a lot of us obviously don't have that connection to social media in terms of the validation side. So we
Yeah.
grew up, we predated a lot of that stuff.
Right.
So to me, I know that I don't value that as much as I know that the young people do. So it's very difficult for them to like separate who they are. So they feel they might make statements like what you said. If I
Right.
didn't post it, it didn't happen. My
Right.
thing is more about public versus private.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the technology, I do capture a lot more of what happens in my life, but I don't share everything that happens in my life because it is not for public consumption.
Absolutely.
That is my issue for a
Yeah.
lot of people. It's like when you're sharing all these things, to your point about if I'm feeling the need to post my perfect relationship, or not even perfect, but just my relationship, is that inherently bad? No.
Right.
But if I'm doing it at such a frequency, this is just would be my perception.
Right.
Why do you feel the need that everybody around you, and it could just be you could have a private profile and only your friends and family know. Why do
Right.
you think that they want to know or need to know everything that you're doing? Just
Exactly.
just
And I
asking yourself that question. But go ahead.
right. And I think like, initially when and all that stuff, it's kind of like, oh, the relationship. I think what it is too is like I just have so much love for this person and I almost want to like I guess let the world know, in a
Hmm.
sense, like I'm just so happy, like, yes, again, like our relationship isn't perfect.
Hmm.
Of course, that we've worked through a lot, but I just know that this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. So sometimes initially, like I could say I probably honestly looking back now probably posted a little much and stuff like that. And then I see Tim kind of like just enjoying the moments between us where it's
Hmm.
like you said, you don't really have to post everything, Huey. And it's like,
Yeah.
you're right. You know what I mean? He's never actually told me that because he knows that I enjoy social media,
Sure.
you know? But just like seeing him and seeing the moments we have, like we've had a lot of special moments that haven't been shared on the gram, for
Yeah.
example. You know what I mean?
And also just to be able to, because I've actually seen this happen, also to help people feel more in the present, you know?
Yes,
Like,
that's
I
important.
know this might not seem like much, but like just imagine, right? Let me do like a quick little role play, okay?
Right,
So you're talking, right? You're talking to me, you're making points. And I'm looking down here and I'm getting ready to go start scrolling on some stuff, right?
right.
How engaging does this feel for you?
It's completely lacking. Like I'm talking to a wall. No one's listening, really.
Right? So I'm just over here. What did you say something? Oh, okay.
Right.
Back to what I'm doing, right?
Yeah,
I understand that.
yeah, exactly.
You good? Okay. That's very disconnecting.
Right.
It doesn't allow for us to be in our present because my mind is actually there instead of here.
Yes,
Instead of here, actually paying attention. What is
exactly.
happening? Looking at you, your smile, your smell, your hair. You dressed up nice for me. We had this great meal. We're at this place.
Right.
I want to be here,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I think that creates a barrier.
It
Not
does.
all the time. Again, I like to capture the moments.
Right. Right.
But if I'm constantly, I'm not suggesting that you are, but if I'm
Right.
thinking so much about like, I need to get this and I want to make sure I share this at this time and I need to capture this
Right.
many different photos and images and videos,
Right.
I think it takes away from these genuine experiences that sometimes we have. So to your point, if you have a partner who doesn't associate with that stuff at all, then it's like way easier for you to maybe be more grounded because they're not adding into it. You
Exactly.
might be like, I want to go take this photo and then I want to share it. And they might be like, hey, that's for us, man. Let's
Exact. Oh
just
my
just
gosh.
be here right now, and then
Yes.
and we'll be good.
That couldn't be more true, 100%, and I've caught myself, and I'm better about it now, but it was
Good.
like, "Oh, like, I want people to see, where we're at," in a sense, like, I don't actually say that, but it's kinda like, "Oh, I want my friends to see," you know what I mean? And that's just and he doesn't have that, so you're right, when he's not engaging in it and isn't all excited about it, it's like, this is so unimportant. In a sense, I'm probably seeing, like, that perspective. I think people are so interested, in reality, they're probably not even interested, you know what I mean? And, um, when I in the past, like when I've gone on social media in the middle, like we're having a special moment, we're somewhere that's really nice or whatever,
Mm.
and then like I'll get on my phone, and then he's just kind of like, okay, well, I'm gonna get on my phone and text my friends, you know what I mean? And that's when it's like, okay, that's not gonna work. So adding on to what you said, absolutely, like the genuine experience is so important,
Mhm.
and I've built to that, and I've learned that, and I think that's what's also helped solidify this relationship.
Good.
So I think you make some extremely valid points, and to any person out there right now, because I know a lot of us are victim to social media, and because it's a part of my daily life. I can't lie to you. Like, I wake up in the morning, I'll scroll TikTok for a while, I'll see what people are up to, and
Mhm.
just don't let that cloud real life. You know?
Yes, that's so important. That's the part that, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for growing up when I did because
Yeah.
I felt like I was at the right moment in the middle between the old school way of doing things and the explosion of all of this technology. So I appreciate the technology in terms of the tools that they are. That's what I believe that they are. I think they can do a lot of good. So I'm not anti social media.
Right.
But like a lot of things, I'm big on having balance and boundaries
Mhm.
with those things. And
Yes.
what I have to deal with on the professional side, I've had clients, especially young ones, who they take stuff really, really hard when, for example, they post something and it doesn't get the same amount of views or likes and whatnot. And this is just what they've told me that it really bothers them. Now, in my mind, I'm like, really? I would just think like I thought the purpose was to share. So then I talk a lot about intention
Yeah.
and expectation
Mhm.
because, like, I'll just use me for an example. If I'm going to share something, right, like sharing our interview, the goal would be to obviously attract attention because I think there's a lot of valuable information that can be extracted from this discussion.
Right.
However, it's not going to ruin my day because I don't have like a set number of what's supposed to happen. My intention is that this will live so people, when they ever are able to discover it, will be able to get some value from it. But that doesn't necessarily impact who I am and make me diminish myself if I don't get a certain amount of engagement right off the bat.
Right.
Whereas for some people, that is the way that they share. They share with the explicit intention that I must get X amount of views, X amount
Mhm.
of likes, X amount of followers, subscribers, whatever metric that they're measuring from.
Right.
That's the part I think that causes them a lot of concern because the expectation it may be really, really high. Instead of if I maybe said, my expectation is I want to share this information because if this can impact at least one person where they can get something and apply it to their life, then that means that it was worthwhile to have this discussion.
Definitely.
It, it,
Yeah.
it makes it the purpose behind it not only easier to achieve for in my case, but also it doesn't negatively impact myself, my own like mental health, so to speak,
Yes.
if I don't have this crazy high metric that maybe doesn't happen. But for
Right.
young people, it's hard for them to kind of make that adjustment I've seen.
Oh
And so
yeah.
that's why I'm big on like, number one, you probably need to be at a certain age before you engage with it because it's
Yes.
going to be hard for you to understand how to regulate that.
Mhm.
But also the context of what we're talking about, how it can impact a relationship because it's impacting you, which
Right.
ultimately will impact any relationships that you have.
Yes, and that's huge, and I used to be that person. Like, I literally would post pictures and text my cousins like my picture I posted." You know what I mean? That was very validating to me.
Shout
How
out to Terry. He says, like my photos.
Yeah, literally, I'd be like, "Okay, I posted, go look at it," or I'd be like I'd take, like, multiple pictures, right? I'm calling myself out, but this is just the reality of it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. I
I'm
would
sure
take,
you're
like,
not.
multiple selfies, like, in the perfect lighting, and then send it to my cousin and ask her to pick the best one, and then I'd post it, and it's, like, exactly what you said, if I didn't get a certain amount of likes, okay, it has to at least reach 100. If it was any less, like, it was kinda like a it kinda hurt my ego a little bit, honestly. And
Good
so I
word. Good
can
word.
honestly say that that's very much the case. But then, like you said, then you find someone who isn't all about that life and who actually sees you for who you are and the person you are and values your heart. That's what you end up putting the most importance on,
Absolutely.
you know? And so, yeah, I grew. I think I've learned a lot in this interview, just how much I have grown. Because when I think back, I'm like, in what ways have I grown? You know, and this is big. Like just
Yeah.
the validation I would get from social media and oh, this person said I'm beautiful, blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like that was all validating for me. Or I want people to see what I'm doing, you know, because my life is exciting and whatnot. But it's like
Hmm.
it's just so unimportant. To the point where like now I've literally within the past few years I've kind of grappled between like deleting my Instagram, keeping it because I just don't hold it to this high importance. Now it's more of me like I'm actually genuinely interested in sometimes in what my friends are up to, or you know, like when
Sure.
there's
Sure.
a big announcement made, like a pregnancy or a marriage, because everyone posts that, right? And
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
now that I got engaged, I'm like, I need to post this.
Well, listen, but those, see, to me, those are significant life events, right?
Yeah,
Like that totally makes sense why
right.
you would share that. You know, people who do the what's that? The gender reveals.
Oh yeah,
Like, you know, when they do that kind of stuff. That makes sense. Those are epic moments in your life. Like that totally seems fair and appropriate to share.
right.
So to me, it's, again, they're tools, right? It's not that we
Yeah,
shouldn't share or we don't want to share.
right.
The balance we were talking about was all this external validation, particularly from people who don't know you really at all. All they know is
Mhm,
these images that you've shared.
exactly.
So they have no context for who you really are.
Right.
Having that have so much personal weight on who you are and how you view yourself, self value, self respect,
Hmm.
versus having the people who actually know me and let their weight be the most predominant way that I kind of view myself outside of how I look
Right.
at me. That's
Yes.
where I see that the disparity is. But to your point, if you're just like trying to see what your friends are doing and they're sharing these epic moments that are happening in their lives, I
Right.
think that's totally fair and it seems very appropriate.
Right, and I think it's just like a shift because, like, I think we all have I mean, for all of us who have been, like, heavily addicted to social media at some point,
Mhm.
there was this shift where it used to be all about me and the validation I was getting in my profile was all about my you know, me and what's going on in my life.
Mhm.
To now, like, okay, 1, it's less important, and 2, I'm just kinda posting these bigger things or just, like, you know, wanting one time I remember, like, when I made a post about Tim, you know, on our anniversary or something. And I realized I was kind of writing to myself. I made like this big paragraph, but like, you know, who's actually reading all that in a sense? And
Mm.
now it's more about like, and yeah, that's big, right? Like why people know we're in a relationship. I'm pretty sure everyone else is out here like in their relationships, like valuing what they have going on with their person or trying to find that person.
Sure.
Why is what Tim and I have going on so important to other people? But in a sense, for me, it was kind of like shouting to the rooftops, like just like I finally found this person. I was just so excited about sharing about who he was kind of.
Sure.
But it's like at the end though, who's dating him? Who's with him? Like,
Good
you know,
question.
right? And so it's like that was big. But yes, there's a shift where it became all about it was all about me to now it's like okay, minimal like posting, not as much. Don't get me wrong, I still post, but it's like not posting what I used to post, where the content was just
Yeah.
kind of me, and getting that validation from random people on Instagram
There
to
you
now
go.
I feel more like my family members, my friends, the people who genuinely care about me that know me,
Mhm.
their feedback is the kind that matters the most, you know?
Absolutely. That's what I would hope we would all have, right?
Right,
And
right. Yeah.
I do want to give another side to what you're saying too, because I think this is you made an interesting point, and hopefully this will make sense. I'm gonna try to draw a quick parallel between
Yeah.
social media. So you know, like when you're initially dating, maybe this happened with you and Tim, maybe this happened with previous person. For us as guys, what we're usually thinking about initially is you sort of I use this expression like you're going to play how you practice. So how you set up the relationship initially, you're setting the tone, you're setting the expectations, right? So let me give an example. Give me the name of your favorite restaurant, or a favorite restaurant, if you will.
Oh,
Just throw it out there.
Lure Fish House.
Laura Fish House?
Yeah, Lure.
Laura,
Uh-huh.
Laura Fish House. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So let's say we're dating the first 4 to 5 dates. I'm taking you to Laura Fish House. And then about 2 weeks after that, now I'm trying to take us to like Olive Garden. What happens in a lot of cases is I set an initial expectation, especially in the beginning, that this is sort of the life you can expect with me.
Mm,
And then when it kind of drops, it throws you off.
right.
That's on a restaurant example, right? Let me give you a communication example. It's very common in the beginning when you're dating that you're going to communicate a lot.
Hmm.
You're texting a lot, you're calling a lot, video chats, maybe you're trying to come over, all kind of stuff, right? The infatuation phase, all of that good stuff, honeymoon. And then for a lot of us, it starts to drop off. Why? Because we get used to stuff. You're not new anymore. We just get complacent. It's very normal human action that we have to actively work against
Right.
to keep the relationship as fresh as we can.
Yes.
Now, back to the social media side. Let me ask you a question. I was just trying to use that to set a tone.
Right.
Have you ever thought about when you're posting a lot of this content? This is between, specifically the context is you and Tim, because you
Hmm.
said that's how it's evolved, right?
Right.
If you were posting him constantly or very often, okay, how do you think that might impact you guys in the future if you started slowing down that posting, either from what the audience that you've curated, what they would think, or
Right.
what you or your partner may think with that drop? What would you say?
That's great. Another great question. Um, I think maybe I get like the audience, I guess, the audience on Instagram and whatnot, they may potentially think like there's some relationship issues going on